Yes. Hello. Hello. Happy Thursday, everyone. And welcome to this special Prasada Talks, Vital Journeys, the Power of Community Connection. Thank you for joining us. If you're here with us live, get comfy, enjoy this discussion. If you have any questions, please feel free to utilize the chat, and we'd love to answer your questions as we move through this. And just in case we haven't met yet, I'm Meg Townsend. I'm a Director of Program Development and a Whole Being Guide at Prasada. And I have a background in retreat curation and guiding since 2014. It's something that I started doing and have created and guided groups around the world to different places since then. Took a brief break during the pandemic. And I also bring some gifts of yoga and movement as a part of those experiences that we design. And I am joined by Alice Daumert and Nicole Hammond on our retreat curation team. Alice, tell us a little bit about you, how you started to get into retreats and why you're passionate about this work as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Meg. So glad to be here. This is one of my favorite topics. I'm trying to think about the first time I went on a retreat. I probably did one before, but in 2014, I actually went to Costa Rica. It was giving myself my 50th birthday gift. And so, part of at Prasada, we offer a lot of corporate wellness programs and we're on site with people. And yet we also know the value of taking people to special places. And I just really have had some pretty life-changing experiences by taking that time to get away and really just not have any of the daily regular things, establish some new habits. And I think it's really an important part of people's health and wellness plan and strategy for whole being.
I love that. Thanks, Alice. And Nicole, we're joined by Nicole Hammond, who's out in Colorado. Nicole, tell us a little bit about your retreat experience, what you're bringing to the team.
Yeah, I'm on my own little journey. I have had asthma since age 6, and so breathwork and I have had this long relationship. And through my transformation and just experiences through life, I've fallen into the Vital program and went to Costa Rica, where Alice was in 2014, and just had this mind-blowing experience with breath and my relationship with my body, and going through a program too, becoming a facilitator of breathwork through neurodynamic breathwork. And community really showed me how to open up and find things in my body and just be witnessed by others in the community in their own process, and really appreciate that. So the setting of Costa Rica was really wonderful, integrating. And I mean, there's just so many pathways I can go down and won't stop talking. So I will leave it there. It's an experience that I can talk forever about. So I'm really happy to be here with both of you.
Thanks, Nicole. And we're glad you're joining us. And Nicole is one of our journey coordinators and also breathwork guides. And she's really coming here today, though, to share her experience as a participant with us last year. And you're all hopefully here because you're curious of what are these vital journeys that we've been starting to share with you. And how might you picture yourself there? And so we want to start to just outline a little bit more about what goes into the creation of these and the experience that you'll get out of those. And I think there's 3 really important elements. Alice loves a good 3, right? A good, like, here are sort of our 3 things that contribute to something. So first and really vital is the place. So place, practices, and people are the 3 things that really combine to create these vital journeys. And so when we're looking at place, and this is something that's always been really important to me as I was called to different areas around the world, and what do these different countries and lands have to offer, and some similar qualities that we're looking for to spend our time traveling and diving into. And the first one is really a place that offers an abundance of nature. At Prasada, we really talk a lot about these three worlds that we live in: the world of our body, the world of our mind, and then the world around us, especially the natural world and the relationship between all of those. And so we have this abundance of nature that we're going to, whether it be in Pennsylvania, right? Not just a couple hours from where we are in Philadelphia, where Alice and I are in Philadelphia, to Costa Rica, which you've heard us mention, one of the most biodiverse areas of the world. And when we allow ourselves time to really settle into this beautiful nature for a few days, the benefits to our nervous system and to our mind are really abundant. And finding places, we're also particular about places that include all the different elements. So really good, quiet earth, but then there's water somewhere around so that you can, there's trees, there's open sky so that you can really tune into these elements. Spend time, I like to say, like marinating in them, if you will, and just notice how they support you over those few days. We look for places where there's less light pollution so that you can actually see the sky, see the stars or the moon. Sometimes we're going to places where we'll be there on the full moon. And so you'll get to experience maybe sleeping in the moonlight as it goes through your window. Or sometimes there's new moons where we are. And so we'll access, the whole dark night sky. Another important element that we look for is that the retreat centers that we go to have really conscious caretakers, right? The people who have bought the land see themselves more as stewards of the land rather than like the owners of the land. And every place that we go to, the stewards are always working on really supporting and improving the local community around them, right? They see the interdependence, the interconnection, and they want to support that so everyone thrives. So they support the local community and also the natural environment around them. So they look at, okay, I have this huge retreat center in nature. How do I do that? How do I bring lots of people there throughout the year with as low impact as possible? So they're really considering that. River Mountain, this place that we're going to in Pennsylvania, they actually have a local beekeeper and they support bees on the land. They don't actually take, I don't think, much of the honey, right? Because the bees need that honey, but they just have a beekeeper on hand, educating people about the importance of bees, caring for them, which helps to really contribute to the just thriving of the land. And they're also planting, they're on this initiative to plant, I think it's like 1 million trees or something, a very large number of trees. And they invite people to, I asked them if we could, but you don't plant trees in the summertime, they said, but certain times of year, they invite people to go and plant trees in and around the watershed and the land that they own. And then these land stewards, they also really acknowledge and honor the history of the land that they occupy. And that's really most important as we settle in, is finding places and going through checklists as I wander around the world on Google and then checking out sites, is making sure that those elements are in place so that we're in that cycle and supporting the places that we are experiencing a lot of healing and thriving from. So that's a little bit about the place. Now we're going to dive into the practices. So Alice, tell us a little bit about, this was sort of your brilliant plan, was looking at, we have, these are breathwork experiences that we're taking people on, but we're also including a lot of other practices, whole being practices in these experiences. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what they are and why you've really chosen to weave those together?
Yeah, it's nice to get away from home. That's the first retreat. Sometimes people are just like, I need a break. I need to be away. And oftentimes we'll have a list of all the things that we'd like to be doing. We'd like to be doing some yoga, and we'd like to be doing some exercise, and we'd like to be doing some a little bit more deeper work, maybe revisiting some things that we might have been sort of stuffing down. And so on these retreat environments, what we like to do is give people a taste of a variety of different experiences that contribute to what we call whole being. Some of them are what I would consider wellness fundamentals. All of these places have really amazing, not just tasty food, but it's a diet, perhaps a more vegetarian style, or with a lot more variety than you might experience. And so it's really interesting when your body gets to actually have great nutrition for a week and to see kind of how that makes you feel. Um, we we always have done yoga. That's a typical part of our program. And when I went to Costa Rica the first time, we actually did a form of breath work. It's called rebirthing breath work, and that was really where I had that first experience. Most people think about breath work, and I did a breath at work program yesterday for one of our clients. We think about breath work in terms of either calming us down, an ocean breath, or giving us some energy. If you're familiar with breath of fire or breath of joy, but in this modality that we're going to be offering on these retreats, in this transpersonal, sometimes known as holotropic breath work, it gives us a chance to go a little bit deeper, to really go into our psyche, to really relax, to be supported in a group environment. And so that kind of work, yes, we're going to be going to a beautiful place. And yes, we're going to be having a really great time. But in our culture, we don't really have a lot of space for us to give room to see how does it feel when I wake up and I do yoga in the morning or I do chanting? How does it feel whenever I move my body in particular ways? We did CrossFit on the beach, and we're going to be doing CrossFit at most of the retreats again this year. What does it feel like to get up in the morning and be like, and then do, a 30-minute, 45-minute CrossFit workout? And how does that set up your day? So this idea of whole being, and then on some of the retreats last year that we led, the group seemed like it was having a good time, and we were doing some movement. And Meg's got a great yoga dance sort of practice, and we got there, and we just said, "How do we feel in our bodies?" And that ended up being one of the most memorable parts of the whole entire trip. So that's another aspect, that we have this framework of whole being, but we also are there, and we're also sort of sensing like, oh, if we have a yoga class scheduled, we're not stuck into we're going to be doing this particular type of yoga. How's everybody feeling? We might end up doing more yin or restorative yoga. Or there might be another day where we're feeling a little sluggish in the retreat. We might be doing more of a vinyasa yoga. Or we might just skip the yoga and just do dance for that whole time. So it's really an opportunity if you've been struggling with like, oh, I'm trying to fit in exercise and I've never tried chanting, and thanks Gail, I've never tried this or I've never tried that, or CrossFit. Oh my gosh, I would never try CrossFit. It gives you an opportunity to be in a supported space, and it's all optional. All of those practices are optional. But an important part of this, what we again call a whole being framework.
I love that. And Alice, as you were speaking, you had mentioned habits at the beginning. It's like a great opportunity to start these habits that you've been wanting to start and have that support and accountability and time and space to plant those seeds. Notice how great they support you and make you feel. And then a lot of people, we had someone from Costa Rica who he came to CrossFit every morning on the beach and went home and joined a gym. And it's like a continuous habit that has really supported his body and his mind. Since we were there 6 months ago, he did this check-in and was just like, I lost 25 pounds. I feel amazing. He looked so bright. And it was just, he showed up and he started those seeds and continued after. So it's stories like that are really exciting to see the how the change continues even after.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing, is that the reason why that person, Marco, who's our CrossFit coach and came with us, when he got back home, he stayed in touch with Marco, and Marco helped him with an at-home program for a little while, and then actually helped him find the right gym for him, find the right CrossFit box for him. And the same thing with some of these practices. Our goal is really that you get introduced to these, and that we then help you, because in most of these retreats, we have some integration sessions afterwards. But how do we integrate these practices that you got to feel and really enjoy back into your life when you go back home? What do you take back that doesn't weigh anything in your suitcase, but actually could be the biggest benefit, the biggest takeaway from those experiences?
Exactly. And we have talked about breath work and that experience, and you might be new to that. So what I wanted to do, we can speak on it, but I wanted to show you a video, just a very short 2.5-minute video, just about that whole experience.
Yeah, and this video was recorded at our Costa Rica retreat. We're going back to the same location in January of 2024, but we were really so lucky to have a great film producer, director who shot this video when we were there last, I believe it was December.
Yes. All right.
We're always thinking about, what is the experience of the person? And so how do you create an environment where people feel comfortable and safe?
One of the main aspects in holotropic states of healing is the idea of the inner healer, and that you know what you need. You have the information within.
Something that gets me most excited about this work is some of the transformation that happens.
We are on the brink of shifting the way that we care for each other.
There's the facilitators, the guides, the teachers, this team of people that are coming together to hold the space.
And for me, the reason why we focus so much on the breath, you can just do 3 breaths and get immediate relief, balances your nervous system, all the way to holotropic transpersonal breath work where you're doing deep healing.
In this breathwork model that we work with, we do this breather-sitter pair. So you have a breather that is going through their experience, and then you have a sitter that is just there to hold space.
You put on an eye mask, you sit, there's a playlist that goes with it. Think of it like an airplane, right? There's takeoff, there's cruising, and then there's come down. So the music guides you, and all you have to do is just lay down and you breathe.
Then people can work through things that maybe have been buried so deep that they don't even perhaps even know are there, have the catharsis, and then can form new ways of being with themselves.
Breath, you can control your non-ordinary state of consciousness with breath.
You're the medicine. Connect with your breath, with your being, and whatever you need will be revealed to you.
Group process is a really big part of holotropic transpersonal breath work,
which helps us then bond and really learn from each other.
Having this human experience again and relating to each other and finding the connectedness.
We all have this wisdom and our stories of resilience to share with each other, and that's so valuable.
We believe that everyone has the desire to thrive, and that means to live a life of health, purpose, and joy.
I always get all tingly, like I'm back at Blue Osa.
I always
Yeah.
get teary. It's just special. It's just, and that really, Nicole, tell us, because you went in the capacity of participant. So tell us just a little bit about, what was your experience with all those different modalities? Was that a first for you to experience a week like that? And what did you get out of it?
Yeah, being in group process was that was the first experience for me. And quite honestly, something I was trying to avoid because I usually do solo healing or solo experiences in nature, camping. I'm very much in tune with that. And going into a group seemed to surface a lot of fears for me. But becoming a facilitator in neurodynamic breathwork too encouraged me to really dive deeper into these parts that have fear of being in community, and meeting instructors like Marco and you with yoga and dancing, and just being witness to the emotions like transforming through our body through these different modalities and servicing even more with breath. It really deepened my relationship with myself and others. I've had community, it's rebuilding that worldview together. And there's no standard of healing, there's no one way of how it looks, and this container provides an opportunity for people to really show up authentically, really vulnerable, and just kind of test out the waters within mandala drawing and sharing maybe what has come up in your experience. And it could be really deep material, like personally, like sexual abuse, or something really joyful and connecting to like oneness. And there's this energetic field within breathwork that gets created, and I call it like some sort of magic, being in community and getting to know people and building these relationships, and questioning what does relationship look like? how do we do this together? And how do I integrate that back into my life? And so it's an ongoing process. I'm still integrating from that experience and growing into it with you and Alice and everyone that is so diverse coming from the Vital program. I mean, you can have psychiatrists, nurse practitioners, yeah, all sorts of backgrounds, and getting to know people and just ask who you are, what you're experiencing is really intimate and healing for me, at least. And it makes me want to provide more service to people and hold space for the possibilities of bringing fragmented parts together. Sorry, you might hear a plane, so I'm going to put myself on mute. I live next to an airport.
While the plane lands, that's a good segue into Alice. In the video, there's words that you say that strike me every time, how we're on this brink of this new way to care for and connect with one another. Can you, and Nicole started to talk about that. Can you just talk about that a little bit more? Because that's really, we're going, beautiful nature places, great food, blah, 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 good things. But really the like deepest thread is this community connection, right?
So there was a TED talk I saw with a guy who was African, and he had basically created a program. In Africa, there are very, very, very few therapists. And so a lot of times in our culture, going to a therapist, a one-on-one therapist, is the way that if we're having struggles or problems, that's one of the modalities. And we all know that a lot of times it's not accessible for people. And what they found was they didn't have enough therapists in any of the places. And so it would take you a several hour bus ride or day bus ride. And so what he did was he basically created a bench and put a grandmother on the bench. And anyone could go in the community and just sit on the bench and talk to the grandmother. And it wasn't that you needed that expertise. And certainly therapists are fantastic and we really need them and they serve a purpose and people have deep trauma. But in many cases, the things that we struggle with, even if they're the little t traumas, are just connecting with people, being heard, being held. And so I just thought it was such a beautiful concept of just of having someone who was available and could listen. And when people go to these retreats, what we saw last year, and just a little bit of explanation. So some of the things on our Journeys website are called Vital Journeys. And then we have a weekend. And so we were actually hired by Psychedelics Today to design these particular retreats as part of one of their 12-month programs. And so what's happened is that there have been some spots opening up that are now open for the Prasada community. So you'll see, if you see a Vital Journey, it means that we're a part of that group. And we designed these last year. And what was so amazing to me is that, the people who went into these made these commitments for these retreats, because this is a financial commitment to go on these retreats. But people went with an intention to be open, to learn from each other, to be connected. And it's very different than, let's say you decide you're going to go to a conference. And at a conference, you're sort of posturing and who are you and where are you from? What have you done? And that kind of thing. In this environment, and what people said, numerous people said at different retreats, like, I've never been in a group of people where I felt so welcomed, where I felt accepted, where I felt connected. And then what's been even more miraculous is the connections and the ways that people have stayed connected. I mean, Nicole, you ended up meeting somebody who lives in Denver, in your area, and just we've seen these friendships, and I've had that experience that the people that I went on these trips with, these become your inner circle of people. And a lot of times in life, we're adults, we have our job, we have our families, we have our little groups that we're in. It's very hard to meet people. When you're in a stage of growth, when you're in a stage of transformation, when you're making changes, when you're just transitioning because your kid's going to college or whatever, where do you meet that next group of people that's going to walk with you through those transitions? And so these retreats are really that kind of space. I mean, we've curated the experience and just people are drawn to them for the same reasons that you're going to be drawn to this. You're at a big transition point. You want support. You need some new energy. You want to meet some new people. You want to learn some new habits and things. So I think those are that this way of caring for each other is just the gift of attention, the gift of presence, the gift of love. I was just reading a leadership book, and they were talking about the historically when they survey people, and this is documented, and they look what are the qualities of the best leaders. They said that love for the people that you work with, love for the people that you are serving, and love for the work that you're doing. And so, how do we all find that what we're supposed to be doing in the world and be supported in our own journeys by other people who have that same interest? Because not everybody is in a growth mindset. Not everybody is ready to be doing it, and that's okay. But when we're looking for those people, these retreat environments are really those places where we find that community.
I love that. I feel like that was like a mic drop of just like, yes, more connection. And that's really something that we continue to talk about, look for, and help our clients create within their workplaces and structures. And yeah, it's just so important.
Well, and the practices. I have a teacher that I'm working with again, and she was saying it's so easy for these practices. Like, what does it mean every day to do chanting? What does it mean to do 5 minutes of meditation? What does it mean to do yoga? I mean, you don't put on your to-do list, I did yoga today. I mean, nobody says like, congratulations, you did your practice of yoga. But these are the practices that help us be able to manage all the difficulties and challenges and opportunities of life.
Yeah.
And that's really what we see within our own organization at Prasada, is that learning these practices, having them be the thing that is the anchor, the rudder of your life, makes you able to go out and be able to serve and be passionate about the things that you do care about. It gives you that courage to say no to the things you don't want to be part of, and yes to the things that you do want to be part of. So it's not just about like, oh, I want to have some new best friends. It's about how are you able to go and be an everyday leader in the world and lead your organization and make decisions about how, the better place that we want for I'm now thinking of my grandchildren and my grandchildren's grandchildren. So, it's about that bigger picture, and really of, us being able to, I mean, it is a privilege when you get to be part of a facilitator team at a retreat. And also, how do we share that privilege with you of the many teachers that we all have had, and then have you find whatever your gift is in the world, and move forward with that, because that's really the joy. We talk about health, purpose, and joy. The joy is being of service, even when it's difficult. Even when work is hard. Whenever we feel like we do have that purpose and we are delivering, that's the real gem.
Absolutely. And that's you hit the nail on the head. Like, my greatest joy in facilitating is watching people light up and just realize that they had all these tools within them, right? It just is this remembrance. And that's been my own experience with breath work and all of these tools, is they just continue to remind me of my own strength and support me as I navigate, all of the different challenges that arise, as we move through these human lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like an opportunity, like as a participant, to be held too, to just relax and let go of the everyday, hustle and bustle. It's like, oh, someone please hold me, this inner child work surfaces, and that's beautiful. And it's so relieving. Like, oh my goodness, can catch a break and go into this other space and just integrate every single part in a new behavioral change and neural change. After COVID, especially seeing people in person was very powerful, and to just be remembered like, oh, this is our existence together as humans together. It's really nice to rebuild relationships, not on a square screen, so that was also just the power of presence and cultivating that and figuring out, what are we doing together? What does love really mean to us? Let's reassess this and figure out how we can all support each other. And so it was really relieving being held. I think that's really special too.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Maddie. Cool.
So I'm so looking forward. So I just want to make sure we touch on the upcoming retreats. We have one that's coming up in the middle of Pennsylvania at a place called River Mountain. Meg's going to put the links in there. If you go to our website at prasadawholbeing.com and you go to our events page, you'll see a journeys button. So we've got Pennsylvania in the end of July. We're going to Portugal in October, just a really beautiful place, a couple of hours outside of Lisbon. We're going to be going
Pendle Hill,
Pendle Hill,
close
yes.
to Philly.
Weekend. We're going to have a shorter weekend. It's just a Prasada event. It's going to be a weekend of, again, all of these are the transpersonal and breathwork modality in addition to a lot of the other offerings. And then in January, we'll be going back to Blue Osa.
Back to where it all started. Blue Osa.
Back to where I still remember that trip and me being like, I want to bring people. I want to do what the facilitators for my group, did for us.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Thank you both for being here. And thank you all for being here I see your names. We're so glad that you were here. If you have questions, please share those in the chat, or you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to answer anything via email, meg@prasadawholbeing.com. What do you want to say, Alice?
One last thing is yesterday we just are planning an upcoming 3 sessions about what is transpersonal breathwork? Transpersonal breathwork, what the heck is it? That's going to be the name of our program that's coming up on July 12th, I believe.
Yeah, it's a 3-part series. So if you're like, what is this breathwork? That 2.5-minute video didn't quite tell me enough. It lit a flame. We'll start to tell you more about, we're going to talk about, what is breathwork and its relationship with your physiology, your actual physical body and your nervous system.
Yep. The second one's going to be the science of breathwork, where we really get into that, and performance. We're going to really have our CrossFit coach talking about the breath. And then the last one's going to be preparation, the actual session, and then integration of breathwork. So definitely stay tuned. We'll be sending out more information on those 3 series, but we really want you guys to be able to get, and in each one of those, you'll experience some piece of breathwork. We're going to incorporate that.
Yeah. They'll be informative as well as a mini practice so that you get that experience of what we're talking about. It's important. We can talk, and you can hear it, but true wisdom is really like embodying it and practicing it and having that experience. So we're really passionate about both of those things being a part of that 3-part series. All right. Thank you all. Yeah. Thanks all for joining us. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and we will see you again soon. Alice and I will be talking next month, July. I think it's July 6th, actually, next Thursday. July, our theme is play, spoiler alert. So next Thursday, same time, same place, Alice and I will be talking about why we serious adults still need to play and how important it is for your body, for your mind, for your life. So we hope to see you again soon. Until then, please be well and have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.